What would make you want to leave Korea?
Hey, how's it going? Where are you from?
저 죄송한데 저 러시아 사람이라 저 영어 좀 어려워가지고 저 한국어로 얘기해도 될까요?
알겠습니다. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. Recently I talked with 6 foreigners who have all been living in South Korea for several years. Most of them work here, speak Korean, and plan to live in Korea for a while longer. And in this video, I'm going to find out why. Also, I'm very excited to announce that I'm launching my English speaking course, seok의 살아있는 영어. But more about that later. Without further ado, let's begin. Hey, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
Hello, my name is Missy. I'm from England. I am on the entertainment visa here in Korea. So I'm a model, actress, content creator, and also a painter. So all in the art world, I'd say. I've been here for 4 years now.
What originally brought you to South Korea?
Well, because I was a teacher back in the UK, I've always wanted to live abroad. So I was like, okay, with my teaching, I can teach in many countries. And then I did my own research and then I settled on Korea.
Right.
So yeah, I'm happy with Korea.
Hey, how's it going? Where are you from?
저 죄송한데 저 러시아 사람이라 저 영어 좀 어려워가지고 저 한국어로 얘기해도 될까요?
알겠습니다. How long have you been in Korea?
So I've been living here for about 4 years and it's been a great time.
What originally brought you to Korea?
I would say girls. Oh, just kidding. Yeah, so I went to China and then I studied in China for like 3 years. And then I met a lot of Korean people there and I started being interested in Korean culture and Korean people. And then one of my friends lived in Korea during that time. And he told me, you should visit Korea. It's a great place. I was more into Japan. And then I was like, Korea? I don't know about Korea. I know about Japan. But then my friend was like, you should visit Korea. It's the best place. And so I came here and I really liked it so far. I was like, man, Korea is so interesting. I want to learn Korean. But then I saw Hangul and I thought, I'll be speaking Korean in 3 months from now. I saw Hangul, I was like, oh, it's so easy to learn.
Right. So it's easy to learn how to read Korean, hard to learn how to speak
Exactly,
Korean. Yeah,
exactly.
the grammar and the pronunciation and the words and difficult.
Exactly.
So what do you do for a living here now?
So I'm actually running a language coaching academy. I'm a language coach, so I'm helping people to master languages.
Hey.
喂，咋了？我现在要拍视频，你这干嘛呀？你这在？
Hey, how's it going? Where are you from?
My name is Chad and I'm from the United States. My total time in Korea has been about a little over 5 years.
What originally brought you to Korea?
The first time I came to Korea, I was actually in the US Army here. And I was here for about 2 months, went back to the States and thought about it a little bit and realized that I had a really great time here.
Cool.
And eventually came back.
So what do you do for a living in Korea?
So now I work as a Korean to English translator. I work for a translation company.
한국말 잘하시겠네요.
네, 잘합니다.
오, 겸손하기도 하고. Hey, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Fee and I'm from England.
How long have you been in South Korea?
7 years. I still teach. I do freelance work as well. Some voice acting, some modeling, some other business stuff.
So what originally brought you here? What attracted you to South Korea?
I studied Korean at university. It began as my major and then I shifted it to my minor. During that, we had a year abroad, a study abroad at Korean University, and I really, really enjoyed living here that year. And I thought that if I could not find work in the field I wanted to after I graduated, then I would come back. And that happened.
You mean in the UK?
Yeah, so I moved back to Korea instead as sort of the general E2 teaching visa.
Hey, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
Hello, my name is Shane Hong. I'm half Korean, half Filipino from the Philippines. I'm currently a student here in South Korea. It's been a little over 3 years now since I moved here. It's been a great time.
Yeah. Do you have family here?
I do have family from my dad's side. Yeah, so I have my aunts and uncles and my cousins as well as my grandma, but none of my Filipino relatives here.
So what originally brought you to South Korea?
Since I was born and raised in the Philippines, I was brought up primarily as a Filipino. So I never really got a chance to get in touch with my Korean roots. So I think that was the first thing that like spurred me into maybe wanting to come here to Korea.
So when I first came to Korea, I didn't speak any Korean. I had to teach myself Korean. I started learning how to read and write. Then I learned the 100 most commonly used verbs in Korean. You know, things like 먹다, 하다, 쓰다, these kinds of verbs. I eventually started listening to easy conversations, easy dialogues in Korean. And let me tell you, this was the most helpful thing I did. If you're learning English, it's really important to listen to real conversations where you can hear useful expressions, useful words, useful grammar, and natural pronunciation. That's why I made 천에 살아있는 영어. I came up with a list of extremely useful conversational English questions, answers to these questions, and other expressions. I explain all of these expressions in detail in Korean. I give you several example sentences showing you how to use the expressions, and then, this is the best part, I go out into the streets and interview extremely fluent and native English speakers using these expressions so you can see in real time, living, breathing English, how it's used and how to respond naturally to everything. This is the course I wish I had when I was studying Korean. This course is perfect for people preparing for working holiday, studying abroad, traveling abroad, meeting foreign friends, meeting your foreign romantic partner's family. So far, people are loving it. To see a free sample lesson, click the link down below. Let's continue with the video now.
I think it's something a lot of people say, and that is it's safe here, you know, the safety. Like we're right now like in a bit of a forest moment. In England, I'd be scared to be here alone.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so I'd be like, someone's gonna jump out to me, there's gonna be a druggie, there's gonna be something going on. Whereas in Korea, I'm like, oh no, I'm pretty safe, generally. I mean, nowhere in the world's 100% safe, but compared to where I grew up, this is like a bit of a safer like living space, I'd say. Yeah.
Sure.
And I just like have got used to like the transport being so efficient, things like that. Enjoy the food, enjoy the people, the culture. So I just continue to live here because it feels quite comfortable.
Yeah. So the standard of living in Seoul, in South Korea in general, is kind of higher than the places I came from. So I'm from Vladivostok, the city which never had McDonald's, never had Starbucks. The first time I went to Starbucks, it was when I was 18 years old. I went to Starbucks in Thailand and I didn't even know what it was. It was like some fancy, expensive coffee shop, I thought. For me, like the guy from a small Russian town who almost have never been to Moscow, even like I've been to Moscow like twice. For me, when I came to those major cities like Shanghai, Seoul, Beijing, Tokyo, when I went to those cities, I was kind of shocked because for me it was like another universe. And then I started traveling, and for me Korea was the best place out of everywhere I traveled to. I very like the fact that there are a lot of young people. The very first time I came to Korea, I went to Itaewon during Christmas. There were so many young people dressed very well. And I was like, man, this is just like the environment I like to live in, because I grew up in a very small town. And
never had that, huh?
Yeah, I used to live in the neighborhood. Like let's say it takes like 15 minutes to go from my home to school.
Sure.
And on the way to school, I would see like 2 people at most or something. Like there are not so many people living in my neighborhood. And I'm just like the country guy, so to speak. And came to Seoul, and yeah, I became more ambitious because the cost of living here is much higher. So you have to make much more money to be able to, first of all, at the very beginning, sustain the lifestyle, then to build a new lifestyle and just to pursue your dreams.
I find that there are more things that I like than I dislike about being in Korea. Even as a foreigner here, which makes us the outsiders, you can still find community.
You're not a lonely man.
I'm not lonely here in Korea. I've got friends and foreign friends and Korean friends. I've got activity groups. I like to run, so I find friends that I like to run with and do other things with.
Thing you don't like so much.
I'm not a fan of winter, so even now as I wear this coat,
Korea is cold as.
The culture, the language, I still have a lot to go. Although I can converse, I feel like I want to stay here at least until I can say I'm quite fluent in Korean. It's like a little challenge I have for myself. I plan to stay here for work for a bit. I'm currently already working at a company as a part-timer while I do my studies. So I think I may continue to either work in that company or in that field after graduation.
What's been the hardest thing to adapt to here?
For me, one of the biggest things was the staring, because I didn't live in Seoul when I moved here. I moved to Sejong, and Sejong is a brand new city, but it is surrounded by a lot of countryside. So I was getting a lot of stares, and in the UK, if someone stares at you too long, they're going to shout something racist to you. So I had that fear here. I was like, why are they staring at me? Are they going to say, get out my country, do this, do that? Because that was my experience back home.
Right.
So when they were just staring at me because they were like, oh, a foreigner, I was like, oh, no, they don't care.
I think a lot of foreigners coming here from the West can be really taken aback by the staring here, because I think it means something different.
Yeah.
Like in the West, it could be like a negative, more aggressive thing, Whereas in Korea, it's just often out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Not all the time. Sometimes it can be bad here too.
Yeah.
But often it's about just curiosity.
Yeah.
The hardest thing I'd have to adapt to was professional language, because once I learned conversational Korean, I was like, well, I'm fluent, but then I started,
Good.
I started working in Korean companies, and then the grammar structures and vocabulary just completely changes. The way you express yourself completely changes. And I think that, Korean language is extremely, extremely complex when it comes to corporate language and language which is related to just talking to people who are much older than you.
Sure.
If you're working in some kind of service industry or in corporate culture.
Yeah.
But it pushes you so far so that you can actually learn the language on a very high level.
Right on.
Every time in someone's life, you know when it's time to move on. So I think it would be, I'd hit a moment where I'm like, okay, it's time to move on, either back home or to another country or something like that. I'd be open to.
Just the drive to travel and to expand and to just find out about other places. Let's say theoretically, if I go to some place which I would like more, I could potentially stay there for a longer time. But for now, I don't think that something could just make me leave Korea.
Yeah.
Well,
Might fall in love with a new place.
Yeah, exactly. Just traveling to different countries. I like Asia in general, and I've never been to Europe actually. I've never been to any English-speaking country in my life. I hope I can go to those places, and we'll find out.
I think you will be able to. Yeah. He's doing pretty well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Perhaps if there was a catastrophic disaster where they needed to evacuate people out of Korea because of the disaster itself, I find that would be a reason.
How about a tiny snail that's just chasing you and going just 1 inch per hour, but he always knows where you are, and every second of the day, he's relentless. He's just chasing you, and if he touches you, you're poisoned and you're dead. But as soon as you leave Korea, you're safe.
Very colorful example. I suppose that could be a reason if I really grew tired of such a thing, but at the same time, if it's
he doesn't really like Korea.
Education for if I have children, because it's a very competitive scene here. I don't want my future children or myself to feel pressured into putting them into multiple hagwon.
Yeah.
Because it's really expensive.
Stressful too.
It's stressful, and coming from a society where academy or hagwon culture is not even a thing, because you really do have to be very strong in your own mind to completely like separate.
Go against the culture, yeah.
Because hagwon hair is also a way for children to socialize. And if you're actively rejecting that, it's like, well, how do you socialize your children?
I don't know what would make me, maybe like
Zombie apocalypse.
yeah, basically. Yeah, or maybe if I decide I just want a whole other new life abroad, but I don't think for now I can't really think of a reason.
Okay, so your plan is to stay here for the foreseeable future.
Yes, and for now, indefinitely.
Time. 시간.
What do you do in your free time?
Oh, I do tango dancing and also I'm
Cool.
a painter. Yeah.
일단 여행하는 거 제일 좋아하고 일본어 최근에 요즘 일본어 많이 배우고 있어요. 일본어 공부하는 거 되게 재밌고.
저도 일본어 배워본 적 있는데 말하기는 그렇게 어렵진 않은데 그 간지 너무 캐릭터 너무 많아서
私も漢字はちょっと難しいだと思いますが、
あー
日本語ができますか？
아 좋다.
ちょっとできます。日本語の文法は韓国語の文法とちょっと同じだと思います。Korean grammar is yeah. Oh yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I got it.
그 러닝 좋아하니까 뭐 보통 뭐그 밖에서 막 러닝하고 막 러닝 동호회 가입했고 막 친구하고 같이 뛰는데 뭐 마라톤도 나가고 뭐 그 술자리나 뭐 이게 친구하고 같이 그냥 보드 게임 하고 뭐 그런 거 그냥 그 너무 좋아요. 시간 되면 뭐 그런 거 그냥 진짜
활발하네요. 되게 외향적인 사람이네요.
네 맞습니다. 제가 진짜 막
슈퍼 E.
100% E, 예,
슈퍼 E.
100% E.
말도 많고.
저는 운동도 하고 게임도 많이 해요.
무슨 게임이에요?
저 FPS 게임 많이 하는데 발로란트라는
알아요. 좋아요. 너무 좋아요. 무슨 캐릭터예요?
저는 연막 많이 하는데 그래서 네, 오맨이나 바이퍼
Favorite Korean slang or word?
And 헐 대박. That's a good one.
Favorite Korean food?
It's chimdal and takgalbi. Takgalbi number one actually, cheese takgalbi.
Good choice. Good choice. Favorite neighborhood in Seoul?
In Korea, my favorite place is Jeju Island.
Okay.
Oh, and Busan. I love Busan. I love being near the sea. For Seoul, for example, or Songsu, you know.
Good choice. Solid.
Yeah, with the nice cafes and pop-ups.
Yeah. Favorite Korean celebrity?
Taeyang and CL from 21.
Favorite Korean slang or word or curse, anything?
Curse
Or word or expression?
어이가 없네.
Oh. Favorite Korean food?
Let's go with bulgogi.
bulgogi. Favorite neighborhood or area in Korea or Seoul?
I guess it's Hyundai because I kind of grew up here. So I started from Hyundai in Shincheon because I studied in Yonsei for 5 weeks. It was my kind of best memory when I just started speaking Korean.
Sure. Favorite Korean celebrity?
마동석.
Oh, good choice. Favorite Korean slang?
그 줄임말도
돼요.
얼주가
What is that?
ice, death, and Americano. And basically what it translates to is even if I die, I always drink ice Americano.
Favorite Korean food?
I think sundaeguk.
Favorite place to hang out in Korea?
I live in Mangwon-dong. I'm kind of biased because I live there, but I really like my neighborhood because it has the market and it's close to the river and it's also quiet. It's not very commercialized where there's tons of people and it's noisy or whatever. It's
Cool.
Yeah, it's a very residential neighborhood, but there's still plenty to see with the Han River nearby and the market.
Favorite Korean celebrity?
He's a member of Super Junior and he actually speaks English quite well. His name is Choi Siwon. He does things for the community, for
Yeah.
NGOs, worldwide NGOs, or for or other organizations that have nothing to do with his profession. And I find that that's really admirable.
Favorite Korean slang?
노잼.
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 Favorite Korean food?
곱창.
Good choice. Favorite place to hang out in Korea?
Anywhere on line 7, between Gangnam-gucheong all the way up to like Nowon. There are so many good cafes in Nowon. So many.
Favorite Korean celebrity?
IU.
Great musician.
동갑. So.
동갑.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's like I grew up listening to her music, kind of thing.
Favorite Korean slang?
As a gamer, team chai, something I use a lot.
Oh, you're toxic.
As a joke.
Favorite Korean food?
I really like soups during winter, so I like sundubujigae. Spicy soup.
Favorite neighborhood in either Seoul or just area in general in Korea?
I like Mangwon. I really like the market in Mangwon.
Good choice.
Yes, and then they have a
Some
lot
cheap
of food.
avocados there.
Oh, really? I gotta go soon.
Yeah. Favorite Korean celebrity?
Hyunjin of the Seraphim, she's my girl crush.
Oh yeah, okay. Cool.
Thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. Did you enjoy it? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Once again, I'm Sean, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
What do you think about things that are underrated? How amazing they were. You didn't realize how cool they would be. So what are some things that are maybe overrated? Like people talk too much about them or they expect too much and they're actually not that special or noteworthy when you're actually living here.
I think that a lot of people have like this picture of Korea that is built in dramas or in K-pop. Like I'm not a big fan of this. So, but this is what I actually saw, that there's really a lot of people, like especially when I was exchange students, we were partying a lot. A lot of girls were thinking like, oh, I will go to the street and I will find my dream boyfriend and everything in a second. They were thinking about this picture of this like perfect rich CEO, like who will just be a prince and everything. And
Sounds like Secret Garden.
yeah, it's kind of that. And I like saw a lot of girls that were really disappointed. And I also saw it on internet a lot.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. So many foreigners, before coming to this country, learn about South Korea through K-pop, dramas, friends of theirs, or research of their own. A lot of these things, particularly K-pop or K-dramas, can paint an inaccurate picture of South Korea. So in this video, I asked some foreigners living here, what are some things that are overrated about living in South Korea? You know, things that you heard would be amazing, or maybe there's K-pop idols walking around the streets everywhere, things like this. And then I asked them, what are some things that are underrated about living here? Really nice or convenient things that aren't talked about that much, or that they didn't hear about. This was a very interesting video, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. Also, if you're currently studying English, I highly recommend you join my channel membership. Without further ado, let's begin.
Hey guys, how's it going? Where are you from?
I'm from France. Me too, from France.
What are you doing in Korea?
I'm here to study language, Korean language at Yonsei for a year.
I studied in Busan for 1 semester.
What do you think about things that are underrated? How amazing they were. You didn't realize how cool they would be.
The toilets.
Toilets.
Yes,
Okay.
like it's super clean. And,
Clean toilets. You can expect that if you come to Korea. Okay.
and even the streets, like I was shocked because it's really, really super clean. In France, it's not the case.
Okay. So in
And-
France, dirty toilets, dirty streets.
Yes.
On my first day, when I arrived, I had a lot of luggage. I had 2 suitcases, very heavy, and it was very difficult to carry in the subway. And I was really amazed by how people helped me. Even though Koreans might have a tendency to ignore others, I found that a lot of people helped me carry my luggage. I think I will be grateful for it during my whole stay here.
That one moment.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I didn't really expect people to care and to help me because I was the weird foreigner coming.
Weird
stinky from the
foreigner.
plane. Stinky from the plane with a broken suitcase.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Have you found that Korean people have like helped you other times as well?
Yeah, at the bank, for example, I had to do some administrative stuff and I didn't really know how to express it in Korean, in Korean language. It was a bit messy because the system is also different.
Yeah.
However, the girl working at the front desk, she really helped me because I had banking issues, and thanks to her, everything went well, even though I wasn't able to express it very precisely.
That's really nice to hear.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Where are you from?
I'm from America.
Could I ask, what do you do in Korea?
I'm a student. I'm studying Korean, yes. Last year I was here at Yonsei-daehakyo and I was studying biotechnology. I guess when I was sick, it was very easy for me to go to a pharmacy or to a doctor to get a checkup, which is very different in America, considering the American healthcare system. So I did like that aspect. It was easy. Even as like a foreigner, I was able to go to the doctor and, get a checkup and get medicine easily. So I liked that.
Yeah, and as someone who's going to be a doctor, that's probably an important aspect for you, right?
Yeah, healthcare is very important, and so I like the healthcare system here. If you're here for long term, you're required to get health insurance, which is nice because in America, not every citizen even has health insurance. Especially because I want to work in the medical system, I really appreciate that fact.
What if you really hurt your knee in America? Would you go to the hospital?
Not unless I really, really, really had to.
And when will you go to the hospital here if you get a cold?
It took me a minute to actually go just because I was kind of nervous of the language barrier. Once I went and they just gave me some medicine, and then I was like, oh, okay, actually this is pretty simple, pretty easy. But in America, actually, I think it took me 2 years to go to the doctor, so.
It's because that conditioning of it being so expensive, eh?
Yeah, just it's if you don't really need it, then why risk having to spend all that money on medical bills?
Hey, how's it going? Where are you from?
Hi, my name is Alexander Hoffmann. I'm from Germany.
What brought you to Korea?
In Germany, I'm an IT consultant. My wife is an engineer, and both of us were a little bit, let's say, fed up with our jobs and thinking of a new adventure. And and that's why we were planning some time abroad, from Germany. And we're here now planning to be here for 1 year at least in Korea. And we were arriving in August. And at the moment we're going to the Sogang Klek, the Korean Language Education Center, and trying to learn a little bit of Hanguko, a little bit of Korean.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What a cool decision. So you and your wife, you're just I'm tired of this everyday same,
yes.
living in Germany.
Yes.
Let's both go to Korea and learn Korean at a language school together.
Yeah, right.
So cool.
You make some research about Korea, and I think the word convenient is dropped here and there. There are many things, the stores are open really long, and the transportation, everything is really, really convenient. So I think in a daily life, so I go to Sogang, as I just mentioned, and I'm living at the moment in Yeonhee-dong. So for me, it's with a bus, 15-20 minutes kind of to get from my house to the Sogang. And it's just the transportation is really convenient. All the convenience stores, they are called convenience stores maybe for a reason. So you can even get some food in the night if you need it. Personally, for me, I didn't expect it to be such a major factor for me, in daily life.
Sure.
I really appreciate it.
It's almost like the city is designed in a way to transport you around and satisfy all your needs. Transportation, food, entertainment. It's built into the city here.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas in perhaps Europe and where I'm from, the US, the individual has to put that into their own house and car and all that stuff.
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Where are you from?
I'm from the US, from California. I'm here on an exchange program at Hungik University. Just the idea of how many entertainment things there are to do here in Korea.
In the city.
There's board game cafes, there's so many things, laser tag, there's just so many things that you can do, and then of course a bunch of different photo studios.
Nothing like that where you're from?
No, not at all. Everything's super spread out as well, so
True.
I think it's really hard to compare Korea to the US.
Yeah.
I'm from Wisconsin.
Cool.
USA. It's just the lifestyle is so good. The culture, people are so nice just all the time.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. It just is a place where you feel like you belong. Yeah. At least for me. So
Feel like you belong here.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What needs to happen for you to feel belonged?
That's so deep.
Okay.
Oh gosh. I'm a busybody, so I always need something to do.
Yeah.
So I feel in Korea, There's always something for everyone. Say you're a gamer. The PC bangs are so fun.
Yeah.
I became a gamer because of them.
Oh yeah.
So
which game?
That's really fun. Overwatch.
Overwatch. Okay, Overwatch. Cool. So you're never bored here.
You're never
That's what you're
bored
saying.
here.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, how's it going? Where are you from?
I'm from Poland,
Okay.
yeah, and I'm student here in Korea.
We can start with underrated. What are some things that are much better than you thought?
Much better is delivery system. Definitely for me, it's like groceries, like
Yeah.
literally everything, like
Yeah.
fresh food, like really,
Yeah.
really fresh. So this is really amazing, like meat, veggies, fruits. In my country, it's usually I have to go to the store to buy it because it's like fresh. But here, the system is so perfect that they are also like, you will get it in front of your doors in like special box that keeps temperature. It's really amazing. I love it.
I feel safe here. That's one of the biggest things actually
Okay.
that I noticed when I moved here. I had never left the country before and I came here alone, but I have never felt really unsafe being here, even just walking. I'm right now in Sinchon by myself, but yeah, I think it's a great time if you have the chance to visit Korea.
Can you walk around alone at night?
I definitely have, going to like restaurants or to convenience stores. I've gone alone. I've walked from Hongdae to Sinchon alone, or not really alone, with friends, but as a female, and never felt unsafe.
Cool. The scariest part of today was me coming up to you and saying, "Hey, you want to be in my video?"
Yeah, honestly.
So what are some things that are maybe overrated? Like people talk too much about them or they expect too much and they're actually not that special or noteworthy when you're actually living here.
I think that a lot of people have like this picture of Korea that is built in dramas or in K-pop. Like I'm not a big fan of this. So, but this is what I actually saw, that there's really a lot of people, like especially when I was exchange students, we were partying a lot. A lot of girls were thinking like, oh, I will go to the street and I will find my dream boyfriend and everything in a second. They were thinking about this picture of this like perfect rich CEO, like who will just be a prince and everything. And
Sounds like Secret Garden.
yeah, it's kind of that. And I like saw a lot of girls that were really disappointed that they met normal people. Yeah, so I think this is, and I also saw it internet a lot, that this kind of thing. So maybe that's a little bit overrated. That people have this picture built on like media and everything.
Korea is very convenient. However, when you're a foreigner and you don't have a resident card, when you're not a long-term resident, some aspects of the life here can be quite inconvenient, such as ordering food online, shopping online. When you don't have an ARC resident number, it's basically impossible to verify your credit card information. Even opening a bank account here can be quite difficult. So you can really feel a difference and maybe difficulty to integrate into the society here.
So you didn't expect how difficult it would be to really set your life up and integrate into Korea?
Yes, if you don't have this, I felt like outsider. I know I'm not Asian and I'm not Korean, so I know I can stand out, but there's a difference in the way we're treated. Like we don't have access to the same things. Even ordering online, if you want to buy tickets, for example, for K-pop concerts, there's no way you can access or register on some websites because your name has too many characters compared to Korean names, or your name doesn't fit the Korean standard, so you can't even for administrative things, it can be very difficult to integrate. Yeah.
Well, maybe you can become a Korean citizen and change your name. Maybe that's the way.
That's not the plan.
No, that's not a good plan? Okay, it takes too long.
Yeah.
Like I think the main thing was when we were researching is like many people are talking about the food. The food is so great and the food is good. I like the food, most of it. But I also like our Western food, of course, like from Europe and maybe some American stuff also. From time to time, but I think like for me personally, the food is a little bit overrated.
Okay.
Because again, when I talk to people, a lot of them are saying, "Oh, the food is really, really good in Korea.
It's gonna cure cancer."
Yeah, maybe, right? Yeah. No, but for me, maybe it's a little special because I, in general, have like a little bit like problems with eating like too spicy food, and a lot of the food is quite spicy.
True.
Not everything is spicy, and you can sometimes also get like the less spicy version, which is Kenchanayo. But like in general, like a lot of foods are spicy, or even like coffee. I like to drink my coffee with a little bit of sugar. For example, like a vanilla latte is like actually like probably my favorite drink. And I always have the feeling it's like really, really sweet. Also in comparison to Germany. like because they put in a lot of syrup and stuff like that. So I think like again, like the food, coffee and everything is quite nice, but I think for me personally, like from the things I was like hearing from other people, it's a little bit overrated maybe.
When I moved here, people were like, oh, you're gonna see like idols just everywhere you go, and I have not seen any idols. There was one idol once, BI, he went to a noraebang and like you could see him from outside. But other than that, no idols anywhere. I've seen busking a lot, but that's about it. Also, actually, when I moved here the first time, I got sick for like 2 months because the air quality, it was like air pollution poisoning.
True.
So those are the two biggest things I think that was overrated.
Yeah. Kind of shocked you a little bit.
Yeah. Other than that, right now, I don't really have anything negative to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy living here. It hasn't been that long, but I really enjoy it.
I'm not really a coffee person, so I think the cafe culture is a little bit overrated. Just because there's so many to choose from, so I don't know how all these cafes make business.
So you're not a big coffee guy, you said?
No, actually I'm not. A lot of people come here for like I feel like either K-pop or like the cafe culture, and I am here for neither.
So why Korea then?
I chose this place specifically because I know nothing about this place, so I thought it would be a really big challenge for me to go to a place that I know nothing about.
Wow, that's a really cool reason for coming here.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of the tourist attractions that you see on like Pinterest and Instagram are actually very underwhelming. So,
Like where?
You know, Starfield Library.
Yeah.
I know there's a new one in Suwon, so I haven't been to that one yet. But the one in Gangnam is really tiny and it's packed with people all the time.
The COEX?
Yes, at COEX. So that one was super underwhelming when I saw it. I mean, I feel like people should still go, especially if you're here as a tourist. But there's definitely a lot more interesting places to see.
Yeah.
Like the small neighborhoods. Like, so I live in Haeki.
Yeah.
It's in Dongdaemun, right next to KU. And that neighborhood's super tiny, but it has so many good places to see. And I really like visiting the little shops with like the halmonis, the Korean grandmas.
Yeah.
They make the best food and it's so cheap and it's way better than the places that you see on Instagram. So I would just say like tourist spots.
The tourist attractions, they're kind of overrated.
Yes.
You know, maybe Gangnam Station, Starfield Mall. Too crowded, too many people.
Yes.
The thing that is hard for me here is meeting people that are from Korea, so actual Koreans. Even in my classes, it's really hard to kind of make Korean friends, and I often tend to make more like international friends.
That's pretty common, I will say. You will make Korean friends.
Yeah,
it just takes longer.
I've made a few, and I have tried to hang out with them a little bit more, but it is really hard to break that barrier, especially if they don't speak English or aren't comfortable speaking English.
True.
For my time here, it's been really hard to make more guy friends because there doesn't tend to be a lot of guys who come to Korea. I think if guys think of studying abroad, it's they want to go to like Japan for anime and things like that.
Or
like
Thailand.
Or Thailand. But I think Korea specifically, more girls come here just because of the culture that K-dramas and K-pop breeds.
That's a really interesting point. I actually made a video about this, about how there's more and more foreign women coming to Korea for K-pop, for the K-dramas.
I found it very fascinating when I showed up. I live in a guest house which holds around 26 people, and 23 of them are women. So,
Wow.
so it's very, very weird. I was thinking about it, and even in my international club at school, I found it very weird that there was a lot of women compared to the guys in the international club.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Did you enjoy this video? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Once again, I'm Sean, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. In this video, you're going to get the opportunity to test your English listening skills. As the video progresses, the level of English will become increasingly difficult. Try watching this video first without subtitles. Then watch it again with subtitles to check if you understood everything by pressing the CC button on YouTube. It's important to note that this video is based off of an English speaking test. So even if you understand everything in this video, it's still good to practice speaking and answering the questions out loud. Without further ado, let's begin.
Hi, Welcome to Sunny Cafe. What would you like?
I want a coffee, please.
Sure. Do you want milk or sugar?
No milk. 3 sugars, please.
Okay. Anything else?
Is the orange juice sweet?
Yes, a little.
Can I have an orange juice? And can you add extra sugar, please?
Anything else?
Can I have a glass of water?
Of course.
But is the water sweet?
The water isn't sweet. It's just water.
Then extra sugar for the water too, please.
All right. Your sweet drinks will be $7.
Thank you. Here you go.
You're welcome. Please sit down. I will bring them to you. Here are your drinks.
Thank you. I'm sorry, but this water does not have sugar.
Can I try? Oh my God, this is so sweet. There is sugar in this water.
Let me try the coffee. This coffee doesn't have any sugar either.
Give me that. There is sugar in here.
Really? Okay. This one has a little bit of sugar.
I think you need help. You need to go to a doctor. This is so sweet, I cannot drink it. Good morning. Welcome to Happy Homes Real Estate. How can I help you today?
Hi, I'm looking for a new house. I need a quiet place with a big kitchen and a nice garden.
Great! I have some houses to show you. Are you ready to see them now?
Yes, please.
This is our first house. It's a bit old, but it has a lot of charm. Big kitchen and a garden.
It looks scary. What was that sound?
Oh, that? It's an old house and it has a lot of history.
Are there ghosts here?
There might be 1 or 2 ghosts, but ghosts make for great stories, right? And I think the ghosts are friendly.
I don't want to live with ghosts. Can I see the next house, please?
Now, this place is much more natural. Open air, natural lighting, and the price is great.
Where are the windows? Is there a hole in the roof? The kitchen is old. The garden is dead.
But imagine the possibilities. You can see the stars, and there's lots of space for plants and animals.
I want a house that I can live in, not a house that I have to fix. And wild animals in my house? No, thank you. Let's see the next one, please.
Okay. This is the best one, I promise. Beautiful kitchen, lovely garden, and very quiet.
This is nice, but it's so far from the city. It took us 2 hours to get here.
Yes, but fresh air, no traffic, and you can work from home without any of the noise from the city.
It is nice and quiet.
Think about all the parties you can have here.
Parties? But there are no neighbors to invite.
But you'll never worry about being too loud, right?
That's true. I like this house. Although it's far from the city, it's certainly beautiful. Let's talk about the price.
Wonderful! Let's go back to the office and discuss the details. Maybe have some tea?
Yes, I'd like that. Thank you. Hello there, young man. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. What does this job involve?
It's a position for a nighttime security guard.
What would I need to do?
Mostly, you just walk around and make sure everything is secure. And you turn off all the lights.
That sounds easy enough. How big is the building?
It's 50 floors. And we don't use elevators at night to save energy. We care about the planet.
I have to walk up 50 floors?
Yes, and sometimes you'll have to run. Some alarms need to be turned off in under 3 minutes. It happens every hour.
Run every hour. At night.
I promise you'll never be bored. Plus, you'll get excellent exercise. You can quit your gym.
Certainly sounds like a good workout, that's for sure.
Absolutely. It's like getting paid to exercise. But if you don't turn off the alarms in time, the police department, the fire department, the army, and the Navy will come to the building. You'll have to do around 5 hours of paperwork. Just be careful, and there will be no problems. So, interested?
Is it all right if I take some time to think about it?
No problem. Here's my business card. Hi there, do you love pets?
I love animals. I have 2 dogs at home.
Perfect. We need someone who can handle 100 dogs, 30 cats, and an elephant. You'll be responsible for their grooming and fitness routines. We offer great pay and free health insurance.
An elephant? Fitness routines?
Yes, he's part of our exotic pet care program. He loves treadmills.
I'm good with dogs and cats, but I might need some training with the elephant.
We can train you. No problem. Elephants are surprisingly easygoing. Unless you make them mad. Don't make them mad, okay?
Okay. What makes elephants mad?
They don't like loud noises, weird smells, or small spaces. They don't like when their lunch is too late or too early. In fact, try not to make eye contact with the elephants or it might make them mad.
What happened to the last employee?
Oh, he's in the hospital now. That's why we're recruiting.
Okay, I'll think about it.
Greetings. Have you ever thought about a career in extreme sports?
Not really. I mostly prefer normal sports like basketball and baseball.
We're looking for someone to test our new bungee jumping equipment. You'll be jumping off various structures around the world.
Jumping off like bridges and hot air balloons.
Exactly, and buildings too. But don't worry, safety is our top priority. You won't jump off anything shorter than 50 meters.
I was hoping for a simpler job.
Well, my friend needs help taking care of an elephant. I can give him your number if you want.
I'll think about it. Thanks. I think I need to get my old job back at McDonald's.
I can't believe our boat crashed. Now we're on this desert island with no food, no water, no house, no internet.
Well, we're here now. We need to accept the situation.
Accept the situation? Bob, look at me. I can't even start a fire without burning myself.
Come on, let's figure out what we need to survive long enough for help to arrive.
Fine. Well, first we're gonna need fresh water and food and shelter and maybe a signal fire. And I guess a plan to keep out wild animals.
Good. I'll take care of the shelter and fire. Can you handle gathering food?
I can't do that, Bob. You know I'm allergic to shellfish, nuts, berries, and I can't fish. I'm afraid of the water.
Right. I'll do the food and fire. How about you find some fresh water? We do need to stay hydrated.
Bob, I can't swim.
There's a stream over there, Tim. It's not an ocean, just fill the bottles.
What if I slip and fall and hit my head? What if there are snakes?
Okay, I'll get the water too. But what about wild animals and if they try to attack us? Of course, I'll build the weapons and defend us if there's any trouble. Sure. What about a signal on the ground with sticks and stones that says help? Can you at least manage that?
That I can do. Also, I can look for some high ground. Maybe I'll spot a passing ship or something.
So I'm building the shelter, starting the fire, finding food, finding water, and building weapons. What exactly are you doing?
As I said, I'll build the help sign. And I'll be looking for boats and planes that might be trying to rescue us. And I helped with this plan too, didn't I?
Whatever, man. You just don't get yourself sunburned. All right, let's get to it. And make sure you spell help correctly.
2 hours later.
Hell? Really?
I ran out of sticks. Anyway, what's for dinner? I'm starving. Ooh, nice fire.
I'm still building the shelter, so I haven't started dinner.
Oh, that's all right. Take your time. I'm gonna take a nap. Wake me up when dinner's ready.
Oh my God, a plane. We're saved.
Wow, this is amazing.
We did it.
Yeah, I know. Hey, so is it cool if we go after dinner? Oh my God, it's an alien. This is a historic moment in human history.
Greetings, Dr. Reyes. Welcome to Mars. My people are from Mars, but we have achieved infinite energy, peace, and eternal life. So we live all across the universe.
Oh my God, you speak English?
Yes, I bought Sean Pablo's online English course, and it really helped me to improve my English.
That is amazing. I heard it was a great course. You have to come back with me to Earth. I can introduce you to the President of the United States.
I am honored by your request, but I'm afraid I must decline as I must travel to another galaxy soon. However, I will allow you to ask me 3 questions.
I see. Okay, first question. How do we achieve world peace?
World peace? Ha! That's easy. Mandatory vacation policies. On our world, everybody gets off 2 months to travel the stars. Meeting new cultures, seeing new worlds, it broadens the mind and makes it tough to hold a grudge against your neighbors.
Mandatory vacations? That is a genius idea.
Yeah, it's hard to stay mad when everyone has a marvelous 2-month vacation to look forward to. Also, it helps to build lots of empathy and understanding.
I see. With Earth's resources dwindling, how did Mars manage to create infinite energy?
We looked to what was abundant. The sun doesn't charge you for overusing its energy, and the wind doesn't send you a bill for using too much. Renewable energy was our salvation. Simple and clean. The transition wasn't easy, but it was worth every effort. We also learned to use energy wisely so that there's less waste.
That is insightful. Last question. How did you manage eternal life?
Eternal life is not about living forever in the same body. We are able to transfer our minds into a new body every 100 years. We grow synthetic bodies in large factories where we are able to upgrade and replace parts whenever we want. Flesh has an expiration date. Our method does not. This is how we become eternal. Would you like me to give you a synthetic body?
Well, what happens to the body I have now?
We throw it in the trash.
But I like my body. I think I'll stay in this body for now. Thanks though.
No problem. I must leave now and attend to other business. And be careful of AI. Dangerous stuff there.
Thanks for everything, but what do you mean that AI is dangerous?
Just don't make them smarter than you, and you'll be fine.
Thanks for everything, and thanks for not throwing my body in the trash.
Anytime. Farewell, Dr. Reyes. May your research flourish and your spacesuits never leak.
Hello everybody and welcome to the 19th episode of Philosophy Today. I'm your host Sean and I'm here with the distinguished
Professor Chad Miller. Welcome, Chad. It's an honor to have you.
It's an honor for me to be here, Sean. Thank you for having me.
So, are you ready for the first question, Professor?
I'm ready. Hit me.
Is there an objective good, or is morality purely subjective?
There is no objective good. I feel like there's always a bit of subjectiveness to what we consider good and evil. I mean, it's hard to say. It's all based on personal values. And so I think it really just differs from person to person. With that said, we as a society have sort of determined what we consider objective good. But even so, we sort of collectively have subjectively determined what is the objective good. And so I think that's a good starting point to go from. What do you think, Sean?
I think the fact that you just said it's person by person would lean towards it being more inherently subjective. But I think you make a really good point about what society deems to be right and wrong. And so my question for you would be like, is society a good barometer of what is right and wrong?
I feel like as society progresses and as it has progressed throughout the centuries, little shifts in what people consider normal or what people consider good has changed and sort of molded society into what we subjectively believe to be good. Because if you look back hundreds of years, there are certain practices that at the time were considered fine. There was nothing morally wrong with them. But in today's day and age, it's unthinkable. Slowly, as society has evolved, we sort of nudge our objective good or our subjective good in different directions.
What comes to mind is the gladiators, subjecting slaves to fighting and killing each other. But also slavery in general also comes to mind in terms of it being subjectively okay, right? At that time. My next question for you is, does society always evolve in a progressive way, or can it perhaps devolve in terms of its morals?
We like to believe that morals and the objective good, if you will, always progresses in a positive direction. But I think it's fair to say that there are certain things or certain events that could make us regress and go in a negative direction. You could argue that there was no super substantial problem prior to world wars or certain events, but then there's a sort of triggering action that sort of embeds certain ideas in people's minds that now, as we look at it in hindsight, we can view as a sort of regression in society and in morals.
Do you have any examples of this?
One that comes to mind is Pearl Harbor for the United States. So, prior to Pearl Harbor, Japan was, just this country on the other side of the Pacific. People probably didn't think too much about it, but then Pearl Harbor happens and you see a giant swelling of anti-Asian, anti-Japanese sentiment. And so now in hindsight, we could see that as, well, that's regression. If we didn't really hold any negative opinions about them prior to that, then we have this triggering action of Pearl Harbor and the, anti-Japanese sentiment grows.
Internment camps.
Internment camps in the United States, absolutely. And just the general racism towards maybe not just Japanese people, but Asian descendants in America in general.
We saw that too recently with COVID.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, COVID's another great example of, we don't really think much of it. There's no substantial anti-Asian hate in society. And then something like COVID happens and almost without reason, we start to target certain people. And I think that can be seen as a sort of regression in morals, because there's no logical reason why this individual who has nothing to do with the pandemic or whatever should be held responsible for something like that. And so I think that's a good example of how morals in society could regress from where it was before.
Professor Chad, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and sharing your precious time with us.
Thank you for having me, Sean. I really enjoyed the questions today.
All right. See you guys on the next episode of Philosophy Today. I'm your host, Sean. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. Did you enjoy it? How far did you get without subtitles? Also, if you're interested, click the link down below to access my English speaking course, 션의 살아있는 영어. Once again, I'm Sean, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. 안녕하세요. 이번 강의에서는 어디서 왔는지 물어봐야 할 때 자연스럽게 물어보는 방법을 알려드릴게요. 근데 쌤, 그냥 Where are you from? 이라고 물어보면 안 되나요? Where are you from은 사실 그렇게 자주 쓰이진 않아요. 일본, 중국, 한국, 베트남 등 단일 민족인 나라에서는 외모만 보고 누가 외국인인지 알 수는 있죠. 그런 사람에게 Where are you from? 이라고 물어보면 대답할 수는 있어요. 하지만 미국, 영국, 호주 같은 단문화 나라에서는 아시아인, 흑인, 백인 등 누가 로컬인지 알 수는 없어요. 심지어 이런 나라에서는 Where are you from? 이라고 물어보면은 상대방이 내가 백인 아니어서 당연히 외국인인 줄 알았어? 라고 생각할 수도 있어요. 그래서 Where are you from? 보다는 Are you from around here? 이라고 물어보는 게 훨씬 나아요. Are you from around here? Are you from around here? 예를 들어 미국에서 미국인한테 Are you from around here? 이라고 물어보면은 I'm from California, but I'm currently living here in New York 이라고 대답할 수는 있어요. 아니면 다른 나라 사람이면 I'm actually from Korea 또는 I'm originally from Korea 이라고 대답할 수는 있어요. 훨씬 더 유용한 표현이죠.
Are you from around here?
Well, I'm from Germany,
Yeah.
but I'm studying at Sogang.
Are you from around here?
No, I come from Russia, but I study in the Netherlands in my university, and now I'm here as an exchange student.
Are you from around here?
I'm from Germany, but I'm studying at Sogang University as an exchange student right now.
Nice. Are you from around here?
No, I'm from the States. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts.
또 다른 표현은 Are you a local or just visiting? 입니다. Are you a local or just visiting? 이 질문은 다문화 나라에서는 물어보는 게 아주 좋아요. local이라고 물어보는 것은 여기서 오래 사셨나요? 라는 뜻이에요. 그리고 만약 상대방이 현재 있는 곳에서 살고 있지만 원래 다른 곳 출신이라면 그런 사실도 알려줄 거예요. Are you visiting은 지금 여행 중이냐는 뜻이죠.
Are you a local or are you just visiting?
I'm an exchange student here.
Are you a local or are you just visiting?
Well, I'm visiting, but I'm doing an exchange here.
Yeah.
So I'm living here, but not a local, yeah.
Are you a local here or are you just visiting?
I'm actually an exchange student here, and I'm currently living in Gonzaga.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Boston, which is like in the U.S., like specifically Massachusetts.
Yeah, cool.
이 두 가지 질문으로 상대방이 어디서 왔는지 그리고 현재 어떤 상황인지 알아낼 수 있어요. 특히 다문화 나라에서 쓴다면 아주 활용적이죠. 그리고 상대방이 어디서 왔는지 얘기한 후에는 여러분은 그냥 okay, I'm from South Korea 이라고 말할 수 있어요. Where are you from? 보다 훨씬 더 유용하겠죠? 물론 Where are you from을 쓰기 좋을 때도 있어요. 만약 상대방이 먼저 I'm just visiting the United States 이라고 말한다면 Where are you from? 이라고 물어보면 아주 자연스럽고 좋아요. Are you from around here? Are you from around here? Are you a local or are you just visiting? Are you a local or are you just visiting? 좋아요. 이제 복습을 해볼까요? Where are you from 대신에 다문화 나라에서 쓸 수 있는 두 가지 표현은 무엇인가요? Are you from around here? Are you from around here? Are you a local or are you just visiting? Are you a local or are you just visiting? 문제를 맞추셨나요? 이 두 가지 표현을 꼭 기억하세요. 다음 레슨에서 만나요. Bye. Hey guys, how's it going? 저는 미국에서 온 50만 유튜버 션입니다. 저는 9년 동안 한국에서 살면서 언어 공부는 물론 많은 한국인들한테 영어를 가르쳤습니다. 한국인들에게 영어를 가르치면서 공통적으로 느낀 점이 있는데요. 한국인들은 어려운 문법을 중심으로 공부를 한다는 것이에요. 그래서 막상 여행할 때나 외국인 친구들과 대화할 때 내가 하고 싶은 말을 제대로 못하는 경우가 대부분이었습니다. 이 강의에서는 외국인과 처음 만났을 때 어떻게 대화를 시작해야 하는지, 외국인이 자주 물어보는 질문에 어떻게 대답을 해야 하는지 모두 알려드립니다. 그리고 모든 강의에는 저와 영어가 유창한 원어민들이 실제로 대화를 하는 영상이 담겨 있습니다. 강의에서 배우는 표현들이 어떻게 쓰이는지 영상을 통해서 직접 볼 수 있어서 스피킹뿐만 아니라 리스닝에도 정말 많은 도움이 됩니다. 이 강의에서는 여러분들이 물어보고 싶거나 하고 싶은 말을 어떻게 자연스럽게 말하는지 알려주고 실제로 어떻게 쓰이는지도 원어민과의 대화를 통해서 볼 수 있습니다. 영상 끝 부분에는 원어민 발음을 듣고 따라할 수 있는 샤도잉 타임과 퀴즈도 있습니다. 또 강의 노트가 제공되어 레슨이 끝나면 강의 노트와 대화 영상을 보고 다시 한번 복습할 수도 있습니다. 여행 또는 어학 연수를 계획 중이거나 외국인 친구를 사귀고 싶은 분, 외국인들을 만났을 때 어떻게 대화를 시작하는지 모르는 분, 문법 이런 거 다 필요 없고 스피킹이 늘고 싶은 분, 이 강의를 통해서 외국인과 자연스럽게 대화할 수 있도록 만들어 드리겠습니다. 왕초보라고 두렵다고요? 왕초보도 따라할 수 있도록 만들었습니다. 왕초보 대환영입니다. 모든 레슨을 다 한국어로 진행하기 때문에 no 걱정. 왕초보는 제 강의를 들으면 처음부터 완벽한 발음, 문장, 표현, 억양을 다 배울 수 있습니다. 근데 션은 한국인도 아닌데 한국어로 영어 가르칠 수 있나요? 하시는 분 주목! 제가 9년 넘게 수많은 한국인들에게 영어를 가르쳐 왔고 저도 몇 년 동안 한국어를 배우면서 이제 어느 정도 유창하게 구사할 수 있어요. 한국어뿐만 아니라 일본어와 스페인어도 공부해 봤습니다. 그래서 저는 새로운 언어를 배우는 것이 얼마나 어려운지 잘 알고 있습니다. 제가 한국어를 공부하고 있었을 때 저한테 아주 크게 도와준 분은 영어를 아주 유창하게 말할 수 있는 한국인 선생님이었어요. 그래서인지 영어를 잘하는 한국인한테 배우는 것이 좋지만 영어는 원어민한테 배우는 게 훨씬 더 완벽한 발음과 억양 그리고 표현들을 처음부터 듣고 따라할 수 있어서 훨씬 더 좋다고 생각해요. Do you see what I'm saying? 심지어 제가 한국어로 가르치니까 이게 제일 베스트겠죠? 제가 본 다른 선생님들은 조금씩 틀린 표현과 좀 어색한 발음과 억양 습관이 있었는데 저랑 공부하면 이런 걱정 절대 안 하셔도 돼요. 왜냐고요? 저는 미국인 션이잖아요. 이제 저랑 공부하실래요? 여러분들 위해서 아주 알찬 수업을 만들었는데 이 강의는 여러분들에게 아주 큰 도움이 될 것이라고 자부합니다. 그럼 수업에서 만나요. See you there.